Thank you. Dear Eva Erben, dear Rabbi David Maxa, dear friends at chajim and across the Czech Republic, dear members of the EUPJ and World Union families. Thank you so much for having me, and it is a great pleasure for me to be with you all tonight. For the past 3.5 years, I've had the honor of serving as the first ever continental chair of the EUPJ, and being able to make whatever small contribution to helping progressive Judaism and progressive Jews return to the countries and places which our tradition historically not only belongs to, but originated from, has been one of the most humbling and at the same time, one of the most joyful experiences, not just of my time in office, but really of my life. In addition to the greetings of all the EUPJ team, I am very happy to share that both the President of the World Union, Rabbi Sergio Berkman from Argentina, and our chair, my dear friend Carol Sterling from Canada, have asked me to bring you their warmest greetings and all best wishes on behalf of the Global Progressive family. In fact, I know that Carol was planning to join us. So Carol, if you're with us, a very warm welcome to you from Central Europe. And it's definitely warmer than Canada at this point. At the EUPJ, January has always been a month dedicated to both remembrance and learning, combining the lessons of the past with a courageous and open perspective to the future. As someone who feels passionately about the relevance of education, I couldn't be happier that tonight's webinar is the first public EUPJ event in the new calendar year. For all of us across Europe and the globe, the massive increase in anti-Semitism and other hate crimes, the growing popularity of political extremists, and not least, the uncontrolled online hate speech in many of the social media, have been a cause of great concern and worry. While I'm often privy to debates whether the fight against anti-Semitism is the job of the Jews or rather of the wider society, there is no doubt that as progressive Jews, we have a very specific contribution to make to increase the diversity, respect, and social responsibility within our societies. These are values we embrace in our religious lives, and they inform our involvement everywhere. Over the past 2 years, the global Jewish family has been blessed with many memorable occasions to celebrate the success of the newest progressive congregation in Prague, chajim, under the capable leadership of Rabbi David Maxa and their chair, Anna Noskova. Many of you will remember the return of the so-called Quds scroll, an originally Czech scroll, now in the ownership of the Memorial Scroll Trust in London, which returned home to the Czech Republic, having served as the summer camp scroll for more than 40 years at URJ's Quds camp. The revival of Czech progressive Judaism and its firm commitment to its historical roots and heritage are a source of pride and inspiration to all of us. I can only imagine what tonight's speaker, a woman of truly iconic status, means to all of you, and it is a distinct honor for me to introduce our wonderful guest tonight, Eva Erben. Eva was born in Děčín into a family strongly inspired by European culture, literature, and music. Her childhood ended in the most terrible way when in 1941, she and her parents were deported first to Terezin and later to Auschwitz. Eva has said that she was only able to survive the horror of this time because her mother created a fantasy world for her through literary and fictional stories. Eva lost both her parents and almost her own life during the death marches at the end of the war. She was saved rather miraculously and was able to return to Prague, where she met her husband, Peter. Together with him, she made Aliyah in 1949 and now lives in Ashkelon, surrounded by a large and loving family. Eva's autobiographical works and her interviews are frankly among the most impressive personal documentations that I have ever come across. They are both incredibly moving and vivid in the way Eva accesses and shares her memories, and at the same time full of expressions of her appreciation for life, of her hope and optimism for the future. A German TV station early last year produced a documentary of Eva's trip to Prague, and there she speaks the most beautiful, poetic German. I would strongly recommend it, even if you're not a German speaker. It is available on the internet openly. Eva decided to share her story to support the fight against anti-Semitism, and she has become not only a symbol of courage and resilience, but she is inspiring literally generations for the future by the witness she bears to the 20th century in all its complexity. Dear Eva, it is a great honor for all of us to welcome you this evening and to be able to learn from you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for this introduction. I'm so honored from you to hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonja, for such a lovely introduction. And I must say, on behalf of chajim, of my community, it is such a privilege and honor that you decided to support this event and to give the auspices of the European Union for Progressive Judaism, an umbrella organization for progressive reform and liberal communities in Europe, which we are also a member of, and we are very, very, very honored by your support to this event, and also would like to greet all of the friends who are joining us, as I understood from the comments in the chat, from the whole world, and it's indeed an amazing privilege and honor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a great occasion all the time when I have the opportunity to speak to Mrs. Eva Erben. She is not just a very inspiring teacher for so many people, including myself, but also over the years that we know each other, such a great friend of mine, but also of many of us here in Prague. And I believe that all of them who ever met her. I very much want to point out that our community, as a progressive Jewish community, which is being built in one of the countries which was heavily struck by Shoah, is very much committed to commemorating and for various reasons, to learn so that terrible atrocities from the past can't repeat itself, but also we very much understand that when we want to build modern Jewish life here, we also need to learn from experiences, and we very much appreciate its exchange of generations. And I know how many members were so excited that Eva is again with us. Eva, I won't take so much time for introduction, but I just want to point out for all of you who are joining us that there was this amazing and truly inspiring, also sad, but I must say inspiring book of your survival published a few months ago. And I would like to recommend this book to everyone who is joining us today. And this book also inspired me for many questions, which I am going to ask during this evening. But I am not going to be the only one asking questions. I also would like to encourage all of you that you can already now ask questions via chat. You also please feel free to write comments, greetings, and also share this discussion on your Facebook profiles or Facebook pages so that you can invite also your friends. Dear Eva, the first question is rather not typical. I was just wondering about it the whole day. When I first met you in Ashkelon, actually already, I must say 5 years ago, I was very surprised by one thing. I was in Israel, close to the seashore, but seeing your house, I very much felt like in the Central Europe, like in Prague. How is it so?
It is a never-ending love of my life, which when I would be a painter, I would paint my childhood in colors of a rainbow, because it was so nice. We had everything. It was so, I don't know the right word. It was just worth living. And this I wanted very, very, very much to give back to my children, to give back to our family, not to live the life which is very hard and very strong and you must this and you must that. No, I want flowers and I want picture and I want the Czech paint and I want the Czech food and I want my knedlíky. And you know, today when I went somewhere, perhaps to hospital or to somebody, a doctor is looking at me and he said, yes, I was at your house, I was with your son in the school and I had your birthday. And they didn't forget. So somehow we gave something to Israel of our Czech past. And I don't know, so I love beauty and the Czech beauty, and I mix it with the Israeli beauty. But sometimes you need a lot of work to find it.
I must say that both for me and my wife, it was something very special, which we experienced at home. And of course, talking to you and your story was for us very inspiring. I remember that it was very hard to even go to drink a cup of water because I didn't want to go and interrupt you talking. Eva, can I ask you to take us for a few moments to your childhood? You were actually growing up in Děčín, in a very beautiful Czech city up to the north.
Yes.
What memories do you have? How did you understand your identity? I know that your family was Jewish, but at the same time you spoke Czech and also German. Where were you at that time?
Look, I thought it was normal because I lived with Czech and German culture. I went to a German kindergarten, and at home we spoke Czech. And my parents, in the library, for instance, I have seen Goethe and Schiller and Erben and Masaryk and Palatsky and Komensky, and all together. The life was very open. There was not such a Jewish that we were not religious. Once a year, the synagogue was opposite our house, so it was not far to go. And then from there up there to the how it is English, no, Pastýřská translated. This was Děčín. No, suddenly I don't hear you.
Shepherd's Wall.
Shepherd's Wall. And I don't know, I thought it was, when I think today back on Děčín, it's like a story. It was so nice. Everything was in just right. My grandfather had a factory of fish conservation. From the Elbe, there was a big industry there by these years, and I don't know, life was so organized nicely, and my parents were loving the nature, and I remember our picnics and woods and going to take mushrooms in winter to go skiing. It was everything how it should be. I never thought it could be else, and it will pass so quickly.
So I can hear that your childhood was very happy, and you once mentioned that you celebrated Jewish holidays, that you had a nice memory of your father dancing with the Torah scroll in the synagogue of Děčín.
Yes, because once a year when my parents went to Yom Kippur to the synagogue, I stayed at home with our Boženka, and they came back afterwards. After they were not eating the whole day, and it was with somebody. It was always a great feast. But afterwards there was Simchat Torah. And then I was taken also to the synagogue. And on this Simchat Torah, Father went with the Torah and he sent us a kiss because we were upstairs and Father was downstairs. And we were so proud and he was so happy somehow. That's my greatest remember. So I remember so very, very vividly the moment of the synagogue. And you know, years after, when I come to the synagogue, I have this picture. It's amazing how the memory works. I didn't see how poor it was in the years of 1990, when we come back from again to Czechoslovakia. It was 1998 or so something. It was terrible, terrible. The synagogue was looking like a pigsty. But I had my picture, my father with the Torah. And so
I know that you write in your book that actually at one point in your childhood you had to move to Prague, and I understood that the circumstances of your actually having to move to Prague were not so good.
I don't remember very well the time at all. I know that in 1936, I was not even at school in Děčín. We went to Prague. And how it comes so quickly, I have no idea. We had a wonderful villa in Strašnice, and my father had a factory of the umělé hmoty. How do you call it? Umělé hmoty?
Plastic.
Yeah, plastic. And I went to school and everything was very nice and we enjoyed Prague. And I didn't understand that there was an Anschluss or why. We just went to Prague. That was it.
And in your book, you are describing the circumstances as you were thinking about the situation, how it was actually getting worse. You describe how the Nazis were gradually depriving your family and you of your rights. I was particularly struck by the following memory you wrote. You wrote, finally came the instruction then that the Jews were not allowed pets, so even my canary had to be euthanized. That is given to German authorities. However, we opened the window and set him free.
Yes, and my mother said, one of the family will be free. Yes, that's true. It comes very quickly and it comes so somehow from one day to another. I couldn't go to school and there was the yellow star, Jude. And I know there was a film, Snow White, new at the cinema, and we were planning to go because I had all the Snow White stories and I loved it so much. And suddenly they said Jews are not allowed to go to the cinema. So my father said, doesn't matter, we will see it next year. There was no doubt that this will end. This is impossible that such a situation will be long. But it came suddenly, you couldn't go to shop only in the evening between 6 and 7. And by this time, there were no supermarkets there everywhere, every time or everything. The shops were empty at 6 o'clock in the evening. So, and we couldn't have the maid anymore. My parents had a maid for years, even before I was born. She was with us 17 years, I don't know. So she made all the shopping. And yes, people were nice. People at this situation, some people really were very, very nice. But our life was diminished to zero.
You even describe how you were given the order to actually move out and to go to Terezin. Do you have any particular memory of that order coming? And
yes, before it, they took us, they threw us from the villa. They took the house, and we have moved to a flat, to a bigger house where there were only 2 rooms. At the villa we had 6, and also in these 2 rooms, I remember that life was okay, we had something to eat, and we had a bed and a home, and the belief that it will end somehow, and it will not end the way it really ended. And suddenly at December 31, we got SS came to soldiers and brought us such a piece of paper where the order was that tomorrow we must come to the Veletržní Palace, to the gathering place with 50 kilo, which is allowed to, and leave everything. And so we left. And this was the way to Terezin.
You write in the book that you felt that somehow, and I quote you, our life had ended even though we were still alive. How did you imagine a place where you were going?
When I think today, a child has some kind of a wall. You know, you have your parents, you are between them, and everybody is in the same position. And you know, you have no way to do something. You are helpless. There is such a situation where you must stand and overcome and take it somehow. I don't think that then I had that I was thinking about the situation. I was just taking it. And I think that not only me, because this was the generation where we knew I must overcome it. I must somehow take it and come over, because there was nothing to do. Everybody was, we had nowhere to go. There was no one who would, today I think if President Masaryk would be alive, if this would have happened to us, because look at Denmark, the Danish king went out and he didn't let his Jews go, and in Bulgaria as well. And I don't know. And I think that the generation of my parents were hopefully thinking that as long as we are on the Czech border, Terezin was still Czechoslovakia, so nothing can be so bad. We will manage somehow. Okay, we will come back. My father said we will come back. We will buy everything what they stole to us. We will work and we will buy new things. There was a very much hope even in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Eva, how do you remember Terezin? You wrote that 3 years you spent there with your parents were actually happy ones. How was your first memory of Terezin? How did it feel when you came first time there, and how did it continue the life there?
The beginning in Terezin was a terrible shock. They took us, they took father, the men were sent away from the woman. Suddenly we stayed alone with mother, and we didn't know where and when. But very quickly, because Terezin was somehow a little bit under the own rule of the Jewish Ältestenrat, and all the must and must not came from the SS, but it was somehow given to us, to the ghetto Insassen, through the Jewish hands, so that it was not, it was bad, but it was not so tragic. How to say, we knew that we are in a situation where we can nothing do, only to accept it and to live it through and to fight for our life to overcome it. And so everybody wanted to give the best of it, because everybody worked, even we children. We worked on the agriculture, we had made gardens, we planted vegetables and so. And we couldn't learn, it was forbidden to learn. And we just accepted it because everything goes if you want. You know that the Athens of Terezin, everything goes if you want. You must overcome. We fight for our life, and we were sure we will come out of it because it's impossible. We children, we said, we can't die at 11, 12. We even didn't kiss somebody we didn't love. We can't love, we can't die now. It was very, very, how do you say, we were just children. We didn't understand how deep the tragedy was for our parents, because life was totally diminished on nothing, only on hope that you will survive.
Eva, I was very much impressed by your sentence, which you wrote in a book. You wrote, their bodies were imprisoned, but their minds were free, despite the hard work of the ghetto, harsh conditions, and the lack of all comforts. They continued to create. They painted, wrote, sang, composed, and produced, and acted in plays. I know that you acted in one of the children's plays in Terezin.
Brundibar, yes.
In Brundibar.
Yes.
What is your memory of that?
Oh, wonderful. We were actors and we were friends and all. It was another life. We were just, we were in Terezin, but we were not there. They take us to some kind of normality, and also the belief that the bad things are going to end, because the good and the truth will always be the winner. It is impossible. And look, for instance, that the belief that the world is good and that it is impossible that things like this will reign forever kept us. And we had wonderful people, which the madrichim, the teachers, which were a little bit older than we were, as 18 and 19, and they had more from the school. They learned more. So we had the French Revolution, and we had all kinds of history. What we compare now with our situation and how people behave. We lost our childhood in Terezin totally. We were not adults, but we were not children anymore. We suddenly were completely aware of our responsibility for our doing, for our thinking. We were also very ill children at this age, avitaminosa, nothing, no milk, no eggs, no nothing. So we had also always something. But even then, the nurses and the doctors, today I see the heroisms of these people without medicine, without antibiotica, without anything. They cared for us. And I think Terezin is a miracle, was a miracle. And the people which were there came out different. I see my attitude to life is until today different.
You even wrote in the book that you were asking such questions. Where was God during the time? What was your idea at the time?
Every child has a little bit of God. Not I know. Every evening before going to sleep, I had my little modlitvičku, my little prayer, and yes, you believe that there is something. Even the parents say, don't do this, and you don't do this, not to steal, not to lie, because God will punish you, and so on, so on. And suddenly we said, if God sees this, why does he do something? Why doesn't he punish the German? Why doesn't he punish something? Our parents, sometimes children see terrible things on the streets, what happened. but they don't absorb it somehow. It's perhaps this is God, that you see terrible things and you don't see really, because if you would really accept it, you couldn't live. But it somehow goes. But we had a strong feeling that God is not present, that if he exists, that he exists in some other way, not in this way we believe. He doesn't see, he doesn't hear, and he doesn't care very much if somebody is dying or is hungry. Doesn't care.
I just would like to tell you, and also all our all people present via Facebook, that I very much appreciate that Eva is taking this time and telling us about these difficult conditions and difficult experiences that she had in her life. And I consider it to be very brave, Eva, that you are talking to us about it. And I know that you are not just talking to us, but also that you visit many schools in Israel and also in other places. I know that you traveled to Czech Republic many times, and you also go to Germany, and you speak, you teach, you inspire the other people, and your message is very clear to make it so that it is never repeated, such things. So I just want to say thank you very much for giving us so much of your energy and also your memory. And
don't thank me, I thank you that you want to hear. And I thank also all the in Germany and in Prague, to every teacher, to everyone who is ready to stand up and hear this, because it's not a nice story, but it's something you can learn from it, and learn that how life is breakable. My generation, we fight very, very hard for our life, and that we now are old women and men. It's unbelievable, because we never believed that we will reach such an age. And we are very grateful for it, and we are grateful that you are listening very much, because I think everybody should know that life is something, the most precious thing is love, is life. And I don't know why people marriage with hate and anti-Semitism and all kinds of stupid things, thinking.
Eva,
Because,
I know
yes.
that there was a moment in Terezin when you actually had to say goodbye to your father. Do you
Yes.
think you could describe for us how it was for you?
Yes. No, after that, the typhus broke out in Terezin. The Germans decided that there must be a new ghetto built, and all the men between 18 and 45 or 50, I don't remember, were sent to Auschwitz. But we didn't know that it was Auschwitz. It were the 3 transports in October, and then my father went. But also very optimistic, going to build a new ghetto, and I don't know. So I have seen it today. I know that people didn't take it so optimistic, that they were afraid, and there were some doubts that this is true. But after 10 days, the German proclaimed that the new ghetto is ready, and whoever wants may join the men. So we joined on. We were not sent, we joined them on our own will, and came to Auschwitz, where we have seen the flame, the factory, and so we saw that the men perhaps are walking there, but it was a shock to come to Auschwitz, to go out from the train and to smell and to see and to hear. It is a never-ending shock. It's not that you get a shock once. You just live in a continuity of a shock. I must not say what's happening in Auschwitz, everybody knows, no? Mengele and all the selection. And
I chose one memory which you mentioned in the book. The noise and the chaos were indescribable. The uniformed guards drove us out of the train and on down the ramp or platform with kicks and blows from their rifle butts, and it was like being attacked by a horde of madmen as they made us form up in rows, and I was terrified and clung tightly to my mother's hand.
Yes, and then suddenly came a friend of my mother, which was in Terezin, in Auschwitz before us, and she took me from my mother and said, when you are asked how old you are, say that you are 18. No, it is a lie, and why should I say that I am 18? But okay, I went, and she said, you had no mother, you are alone. I didn't understand what she wants from me, because this everything is somehow stupid, and but I was in such a shock that I didn't think too much. And it was not only me; many children had the same experience. Then when we come to Mengele up there, so he was looking of children. He was separating the children from the mother, and so on. And if you went alone, and he didn't ask how old I am, even if now the registration, what I have seen in what the German have written, everybody, that I was born in the year 1928. No, it's not true. I was born in 1930. So that they made me 2 years older. I don't know how it came. And then the procedure of that they let us stand naked for hours outside. And yeah, I don't think that everything is in the book.
I just would like to greet one more time everyone who is joining us, who is watching us, and I would like to encourage you, if you have any questions for Eva or comments, please feel free to write them in our chat, and in the next part of our discussion we will be able to ask at least some of them. So please ask questions or send greetings. Eva, you once wrote and even told me that in Terezin you had friends, that there was many friendships for you which you established, and you even described some of them. Did it also work in Auschwitz? Were there friendships?
Look, in Terezin, the friendship was wonderful, wonderful. And it was so important to have a friend. It was so important to have somebody you can say, who understands you. It was your strength to have a friend. And we were all really, when I see today with my old eyes, we were wonderful children. And in Auschwitz, it was nearly impossible because the Czech community was not in Auschwitz. My mother and me, we were the only Czech people on the block. There were a lot of Polish people, Romanian, not Romanian, Slovakian. And so, you know, there is something between the Czech and there's something else between the Polish and the Hungarian. For instance, all the commandos were in Hungarian on the Auschwitz. The only language I know Hungary, I know to speak Hungarian from Auschwitz. When they asked me in Hungary, when we came in the year 2000 with Peter to Hungary, from where I know to speak Hungarian, and they said from Auschwitz, they couldn't believe it, they couldn't understand it. So Auschwitz was not anymore so. But also, I know in my way, in my childish way, I didn't grasp the. I think Dita Kraus would know more about this because I didn't have any friends in Auschwitz, and I don't know if my mother had. It was very, very, how to say it, cold. It was very. It was terribly hopeless. Auschwitz was hopeless.
How much time did you actually spend in Auschwitz?
I don't know for sure. I think 3 weeks. How I read in the history books, and so 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, all the 3 weeks we didn't even do anything. We didn't walk. They only count us all the day. They count us without end, endless hours. We stand Zellapel and we were counting, and we got through 3 selections of Mengele. And always some women, I remember, they on their cheeks, they tried to make it red, to look better, to look healthy. Oh, these were such a small things that today you don't even speak about it. Everyone in Auschwitz had eyes outside, like if you are buzzed of the illness of the how do you say? Thyroid, yes. Then from the shock, from the you couldn't, your eyes were going outside to see all the terrible things, all the death and all the people which were on the electric
wire.
And so I think that I overcame Auschwitz like in a narcosa, in a dream. And one thing which is also very, very characteristic, by night, in the evening, there were 1,000 women in the block, and suddenly one woman came out and said in German, "Children, now I am going to cook you a goulash." And she started talking how she cooks the goulash. She takes the pot and she put the onion and she put the sausage, and suddenly you feel the smell of the good food. And she's only talking, and everybody was somehow. It was such a. It was a heroic. It was nearly heroic. Today I see it in all the misery. You are cold and you are hungry and you are so helpless. And she stands up and she starts to cook a goulash. And until today, my children know the story. And every goulash is always accompanied with a little bit of memory of Auschwitz. So people didn't lose all the dignity and all the hope and all the memories what was. Everybody was somehow shocked what's happening, and Auschwitz was a hell.
Eva, you clearly experienced hell on earth, and the question I would say of many people would be, what was giving you strength? How did you manage to survive that?
Look, the hope that everything, we were educated that everything bad is going to end, and everything what's bad and not right has no place in the world, because the world is a nice place and you should contribute something to the nice life. And here is something so wrong. What's happening here? If for instance, so many doctors between the women there, and everybody who was ill or something, so they started to make. You had nothing to work with. You had nothing to give to take the pain or something, but with words. With a good story, with something to put your mind off this tragedy to something else. For instance, I remember on the death march, my mother, when they left us outside in such a cold, when it was terrible cold in 44, nearly 20 degrees below zero. So my mother told me what we will do when we come back to Prague, what we will buy and what we will find. And so she just took me out from the situation now. Now it's okay, it will pass. We will think what will be. And when I see today, my mother was 40 years old. My children are today much over the 40 years. It's a young. I don't know. Today the memories are completely different. 40 years I couldn't even speak about it. I couldn't remember because it was. I couldn't stand the remembrance. Today, at the end of the life road, you can say anything. You just made the kilometers. Our death march was marched 800 kilometers. It's written in Yad Vashem. I didn't know it, only after the war. And from 1,800 women, I think, which went on the death march, stayed alive 170.
And Eva, you write in your book that at one moment you also had to say goodbye to your mother in the death march. It was
yes.
tremendously difficult moment.
Yes, I didn't accept it the moment. I didn't accept it the whole that she's dead. I spoke to her and I just couldn't accept it. And the next day when we marched and they took her away, so somehow you accept everything if you must, but it took me a long time to say to somehow.
But I know that there was a moment on the death march that you actually were free. That at one moment there were no shouting Nazi soldiers there anymore, and you were free in the nature somewhere in the middle of nowhere, if I understood it.
Yes, the day my mother died, so the next day they took all the dead people on the car, and I ran after that. This I don't write because I am not sure how it was really, but I know that I wanted to go with the car with the dead, and the Voska, the man who was with the horse, shouted on me and said, "March away from here. You don't know where I'm taking them." I don't know how it happened. And I started to march with the people, with the death march one other day. And this night they put us to a cow shed, which was very small. And we were already only 250 women. And I was very tired and very sad and half dead. And I put myself in a corner where there was a cow or there was something from the cow. It was very smelly there and very warm. And I slept when I fall asleep. And when I wake, I was alone. Everybody went. They didn't find me, not even the dogs, because I smelled so terrible from the cow. And there was a boy which told me that this is a German estate and I must go. And he was a Polish boy, not a Jew, but the Polish were also on walk. So I went out it was in the woods. It was near, not a house. Nothing was near. It was all such a great estate of a farmer. And nothing was around. So I started to go 3 days with all kinds of people which I met on my way until I escaped the other bullet, which was with some soldiers were trying to kill me because, yes, I think it's in the book where I wrote yes, and then I awake in a bed, in a room, with people looking at me and asking me, and I thought that perhaps God come and took me to heaven. How could it happen? Yes, but everything is there.
And you described very nicely the time which you spent this family in a beautiful Czech town, Postřekov, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Postřekov was a miracle. That the woman which found me next to the river there, when I didn't know, I just found it. And she took me, and they put me, all my things, which my clothes were full with all kinds of insects, and the Germans were still in Postkov, still there. So they couldn't do, this is a very, very small place, 60 houses. And the Germans they had everything under control. And it was very, very dangerous to take a Jewish child. And so they, until today, they are my family, and they are, when my husband died, so I went there, and they are involved in our life. My children know them and everything. Yes, I think that every capital of my life, it could be a book. And so I don't want to speak too much about it. It's so, because Postkov is a book in itself. Suddenly the place and the love which the people present gave me, I was so hungry. I remember there were bread, and there was such a big pot with goose sadlo. Goose fat. Yes, and I took bread and I smeared it from both sides, not only on one, also on the second. In the Czech film, the first film which is made by Pavel Stinger, there is a great picture of it, that I was sitting there and smearing the bread from both sides. I had never enough, yes. Yeah. And they never said a word that I am eating, what I am doing.
You mentioned even in the book that you were afraid to tell them that you were Jewish. So
yes.
You were afraid.
At the beginning, I didn't speak for a few days, because I was in such a state that I couldn't understand how it came that I am there, and who are these people. And I understand that they will not do me anything, and they are Czech and everything okay. But to tell that I'm Jew, no, I was afraid. So I took the identity of my friend in Prague, which I had many friends which were not Jewish. And her father was a doctor, and he was a communist. So it was also a reason to be taken to the concentration camp. And I know that his name was Dr. Kral, and she was also Eva. So I said I am Eva Kralova, and my father was a doctor, and that's it. And only after the war, after the war ended and liberation, when they said that I thought my father will look after me, I was sure he's alive, so that you must put the name of the survivors to say where you are, because there were a lot of displaced persons. Everybody was looking for everybody. Nobody know if your child is alive, your mother, and so on. So I told the truth. So I told them that I'm Jewish, and the farmer told me, "Do you think we didn't know? We wouldn't throw you out. We love you." And yeah, they knew.
Eva, how was it for you when you came back to life, to Prague, which was basically the same place where you went from, to Terezin years ago, and still it was a very different place at that time? How was it for you to come back to such a place?
Very hard, because all the places suddenly, all the places stayed the same. Nothing was changed. Only my life was completely changed. I went to the orphanage, and the truth is, I think that life is demanding and life is strong. And if you are 16, and you know that you must somehow start again, because all the time you in Terezin and afterwards we thought we come back and everything will be the same how we left it. There will be a house and there will be parents and there will be life again, but nothing was left from this what was. And in the orphanage I must say I didn't suffer because we were all in the same situation. And I met there my friend Marta, which I sit with her in Auschwitz when we were shaving our hair, our beautiful long hair. So we suddenly were recognizing each other. And she was also in the orphanage we met, and this was very nice. And as I wanted to study to be a doctor, so Marta somehow said, now we need money, and let's go to a nursing school, and we will make some money, and then we will see what we if we will make the doctorate. No, so life, we were trying somehow to start again, to live. And what I think today, how interesting it was that we never spoke about the time in Auschwitz or in Terezin, nothing, only now yet what we will do. And we learned Hebrew also, and we went to school. We had no schools. I have four normal school years. So everything was on going to this course and here to here, and in the orphanage they also teach us. So I have a very funny no schooling, but somehow I managed.
And I want to say that this is one of the reasons that we can admire very much your strength to begin again a new life. And I know that a very basic element for this new beginning was also a man which whom you married after that, Petr.
Yes.
Can you tell us about meeting with him, how it was, and how you went actually to Israel together?
Yes, I will. But it's not only me. Look, all my generation, we all had the strength. We all did it. Yes, we all here. If you see, we have children, and we were very active in Israel, and so. But I met Peter. Yes, I met a wonderful man, and because I had such a lot of luck in my life, more luck than how do you say it? Víc štěstí než rozumu.
More luck than wisdom.
So I worked already with Dr. Neumann in the ordination. I was a nurse, and 15th of May, I came back to the orphanage, and my friend said, come, let's go to the Jewish Kehillah. There is the proclamation of the Jewish state, and we will hear Ben Gurion, and so on and so on. It was such a far away land, Israel, and Ben Gurion. Who was Ben Gurion? It was far away from me, but we went, and then we met all kinds of young youth from Terezin. And among them was Peter, which was our madrich in Terezin, and it is the boy which took the cherries, what I wrote in the book. And then we went to Café Manes, which is a nice cafe on the Moldova, and drink some wine to the health of Israel, and started to think about it. Should we go to Israel? Should we stay in Czechoslovakia? And now when there is, and we danced, and we had a good life. It was a wonderful evening. And we started to dance with Peter and didn't stop for 70 years. Yes, then we just, after this evening, stayed together. It was such a fate, hand of the fate, which put us together, and we went together to Paris. But it was such a difficulty because I had a visa to Australia. There were a lot of Jewish families which didn't go through the war in Canada, Australia, and they wanted very much to help the children in the orphanage and to adopt them and to let them study. And because I was still keen to become a doctor, So they taught us to write a curriculum vitae, what we are, and so I had got an invitation from Australia that they will be happy to have me and to let me study and so on and so on. And they sent me a ticket, everything. I was up to go on the 17th of October, 48 or 49, I don't know, to the ship in Marseille to go to Australia. And I was in contact with the people, and they were a very nice family. The man was a director of General Motors, so I think I would have a good life. Okay, but Peter came in between, and I wrote a nice letter that I don't want to be adopted anymore because I'm going to be married. And we married in Paris, Peter, and came to Israel in March 49. And in May, we had a baby, our daughter.
And I know, Eva, from you that you were telling me once that Peter was quite straightforward person. And you told me once that he moved, how he moved your stuff from the orphanage to his apartment. Can you tell us a little bit about it? I love that story, I must say.
Look, I think if there wouldn't be war, if there wouldn't be Hitler, if there wouldn't be all what was, I would never meet Peter, because Peter was the opposite of me. I am more introverted. I am not a sport woman. I am so much more inside. Peter knew in every situation, he knew the way out. And he see that I am in the orphanage, which was not a great place for a child to be. And he had a flat which he got after a German SS. The Czech took the people were thrown out, and the flats, the houses were again in the possession of the Czech government, and they gave it to the repatriants, to the people which came from the concentration camp. And people had a lovely, in Žitná 30, a nice garçonnière, a wonderful flat, a small room with a kitchen, a bathroom, very nice. And he came to you have seen how I live in the orphanage. So one day, perhaps we were 2 weeks together, not more. I came home from my walk, and my bed, my pillow, all my things are gone. My few clothes, what I hadn't much. My shoes, nothing. And now I see a letter. Eva, I was here, I took everything. You have it in Žitná 30, and the key is under the mat. So I went to Žitná 30, and I took the key from under the mat. I found my things. Now I would like to see today a woman, a girl, which they would say, what is she doing to me? It's impossible, but I am something to move. But I was very happy. And so I stayed 70 years.
And I know that you built a beautiful home together in Ashkelon in Israel.
Yes.
And it started with your oldest daughter, Dani.
Yes.
And who you were talking about. And can you tell us how many children, grandchildren, I believe also great-grandchildren you have?
Yes, so I start from the end. And 15 grandchildren, 3 children, and 9 grandchildren. And everybody has 3 children, more or less, so the family grow, and makes me somehow proud. Yeah, all of us, which it's such a normal way. It's a normal way of living, that you have family, and that you leave something after you which continue the life. But for us, it was such a miracle. And also that nobody had parents. And so our children are different in a way. My daughter always said, I know on Pesach or birthdays, you put a special plate. So I know this plate represents your mother, because this is a plate which given to me back by my aunt, and this plate I just cherished, and it represents always the old time. So our children perhaps had it not so easy with us parents, because we were so somehow with the past.
Eva, I must say, you know, when we talk, and I very much enjoy talking to you all the time when there is a possibility, it always gives me so much strength. What is your life motto? What is your life wisdom for being so strong and so happy in your life, which you obviously are?
Look, I have many mottos. Today, at the beginning, I say, what doesn't kill me makes me strong. One thing. The second thing is that I have also always something to do. I have the garden, I must have the flowers, and I must do things which do something good for the other. I cook, I share the stories of other people. I try to. Nothing is so bad. Look, Nietzsche said that everything is so bad how you take it. It's true that the Shoah you can't take lightly, but you can also put it aside. This is what we did with Peter when I must say it other way. When my daughter was small, I had a neighbor. There were people which were born in Israel and had parents, and the parents came on holidays, on birthdays, and brought presents for the children. So my Danny was standing by the window and said, why is nobody coming to us? And I never get a present. And it's normal. So I took out the album which I had from my aunt, and I showed her my mother, and I brought all kinds of dolls and toys, and said, you know, if your mother would come, she would bring you this and this and that. And suddenly the picture of my mother disappeared. And after a few days, I found it under the pillow of my daughter, all torn, and all how she kissed it and how she had it. And so I thought that I will not let them die. I will live, and I will give all the strength to life. And so nothing is too much for me. I think the people which say, oh, I can't go, I have no strength. And even my daughter-in-law, which not always agrees with me, says to the children, if you want something, go to Eva, for her is nothing too much. But this is true. I don't think that the things are impossible. I think that I can just take out from the soil something.
Eva, thank you so much. There is only one more question from me, and then I believe that also people who are with us would like to ask you some questions. And I just would like to ask you, because I know that you are very much attached to Israel, that you are at home there. Nevertheless, you are also, I must say, connected to what's happening here in the Czech Republic. You come to regular visits, and I know that when you come, you talk about visiting theater and also perhaps visiting our community, which you are very close to all of us. How do you feel about the future of Czech Jewry, Czech Jewish life, and how do you feel about our community?
It gave me very, very, very much. You gave me back somehow, you know, how a child, when I was a child, I always felt that I am more because I am Jewish, because we had Hanukkah, we had Christmas, we had Pascha, we had Pesach, we went to the cemetery on Dushichki, and we had Yom Kippur. We were open people, and this is what you are. You are again open. You are human, Jewish, intelligent, I don't know, higher thinking people, but not so. The Jewish Jewry, even President Masaryk said that the Jews in Czechoslovakia are the Schlechta, are the
aristocracy.
Yeah, of the Jewish, because Jewish people are the way how the where they live. There is difference between Hungarian Jewish, Polish Jews, German Jews, Czech Jews, and I had always that everything after the war, the Czech Jewry was gone, and you put it even now again in life, because the Czech Jewry was very, very, very nice. I love to be a Jew in Czechoslovakia, but I don't like to be a Jew in, I don't want to say, but no, I think you make a wonderful thing. And I also know that in school, when I was in Prague, many teachers said to me that they were not Jewish, and they asked that you take them into the congregation, even not the Jews. So I said, what are you looking for trouble? It's what do you want to be a Jew? No, they love the Jews. There is some kind of looking on life in a way from a little bit upstairs. And for this, I thank you that you did it and that you brought it, but because it makes life very, very different and more, I think, more lepší, better. Yeah.
Eva, thank you so much. We very much honor your answers, your wisdom, which you are giving us through this discussion. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give you the option to ask questions in the chat. There was one question: what's the name of your book, which was published a few months ago, and it is actually a girl's journey, and you can find it also in the internet. If you Google it, then it is possible to order it via internet. And I believe that the first question was from Sonja. Sonja, could you?
If I may, thank you so much, David and Eva. Thank you so much for all the lessons that you've shared with us. I was so impressed, and really the final comments you made about how we shouldn't just have, even in the face of adversity, expectations of life, but make it work. How this is a question of our own attitude, of how we approach life. That could not have been more impressive. So thank you so very much for that.
Thank you so much for telling me, because I think when I talk, I am not so good. I can write, even, to talk about the Shoah. English is very hard, because English is not at all with the Shoah. English is the language of the which made the war finished, of the winners, and not of the survivors. It's very good to talk about the Shoah in German, in Czech, in Hebrew, but somehow, I don't know, English, I always have some obstacle to find the right, even not only the right word, but even in English, you can't come with your mind in the situation. Your mind goes wonderfully in German. Boom, you just swim around.
As a native German speaker, I can relate to that.
Thank you for your appreciation.
Thank you, Eva. If I may ask, with this very authentic, very approachable example which you set for us, I can imagine that you have a very, very good rapport with the young people you work with when you work in schools and when you see them in schools. I would be very interested in learning what your observations are about the young generations in Europe and the young people you work with. We so often talk about, not repeating history or teaching about history in order for it not to be repeated. And we so try to do the best as educators to support our young people in learning and absorbing that lesson. What is your impression? Do you think that you see many good, encouraging examples, or would you have recommendations for those in education and working with young people to things that you would like to point out and that you observe with your experience when you work with the young generations?
I think I have seen thousands of children already, thousands of children. I can't say that one is bad. The children are wonderful. The generation is wonderful. Only I ask, from where are coming these terrible people? So stupid. And so the children are absolutely marvelous. So the questions are so deep, and so they ask things, and I try to tell them how life is precious and how quickly you can lose everything what you think that you have it for life. No, it's now. It can be gone in a moment. You must you must cherish it like a flower. You must give water because it is gone. And you must be nice to each other and not to hate. Everybody is different. Okay, if somebody is terrible, so send him to hell. But not, you can, and no, you can do things, not to say, I can't, and go and drink and something and make yourself a little bit with drugs and so on. So I put the Shoah in a way not to show them that these people suffered so and so and so. What these people did, how they fight for life. Look, I got my life not without great effort. I went 800 kilometers, tried to walk 3 months in 800 kilometers in 3 months without shoes, or with bad shoes. Now, the children, I think, education and education and education, and to have the right people, which, also the children have worries now that parents are perhaps not living good together. They are divorced. Children are not loved enough. And today when I see a mother with a child, she goes with a child and there she has a phone, and the child is just something which goes with her, but her phone is, okay, try to give again back the human
dimension.
Okay. This is what I got with the people in post-Chekhov, yes, which so to be in you, to be interested in you, in your hands, in your skin, in your head, not like you must do so on. I don't know. Only the interest, and I see the children when I to school. I always am a little afraid. How can I reach them when I see the earrings in the nose and the blue hair and the jeans with holes, and so how can I bring them to Auschwitz? But it goes because that's nothing what I see. That's what's inside I am touching, and there is. And I also say, it doesn't matter if you will not so good know the problems of mathematics, and so you will catch up in look at me. What did I learn? The teacher, I know you will be angry with me, but I think there could be less of the of the teaching and more of the soul. But some schools are really marvelous. I have seen it in Prague, and I've seen Deutschland, in Germany as well. And I think that also the children from the immigrants, that some are really, the German is wonderful, and they just are, I think, even more, they understand better perhaps some kinds of my stories, because they knew a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that only by education you can reach, and only by love, and not. Sometimes I wonder if Hitler would, if his mother wouldn't die, if he would be a better man. And his mother died on cancer. I read it, and a Jewish doctor was taking care on her. The Hitler's Germany. It's a big book, very interesting, because after all, Hitler was once also a boy. What happened to him that he did what he did, and all the ideology.
Eva, I can see already some questions in the discussion. So, for example, Clara Maria is asking, what is, in your opinion, the biggest danger of today?
The strangeness of people, I think the stupidity. Why people don't let themselves to be inoculated about the pandemic now? Why do they think that somebody is going to make from them a zombie, and they're making them all kinds? Why? I think the greatest danger is the stupidity. And again, I come back to the education, and somehow look, when I open the television and I see about what people love and enjoy to spend an hour or two with such idiocy, this is stupidity. Why today is not coming to, not again born a Churchill, a Masaryk, a Goethe, or a Mozart? Look, I don't know, but I think people should come more back to the nature, to appreciate the nature, the life, which is life, and not everybody is. Look how people were unhappy that they can't travel to see some island and to go there and go there. This is not life. Life is to walk, life is to enjoy the day in love, and not every time only to look about some enjoyment, about new things to push you up. People can't live with themselves. And I think that's terrible, because what's the old people that they are not coming to visit and they are alone and so on. That's not the way of life, because you are alone and you must feel yourself. And in the moment you are seeking all from outside, I think that's dangerous, because you stop being responsible for yourself.
There is then another question. By the way, there are a lot of nice comments from people all around the world thanking you for your wisdom and for this evening. There is also another question. Shoshana Rose is asking if you ever travel to the USA, to the United States to speak.
Yes, yes, sure, I have, because, you know, when I first speak in the school in the States, so I had 300 children, and how I say, everyone comes with red hair and green hair and all kinds of, and I just thought that it's impossible, 300 children in such a big gymnastic room in America. So I said to the children, now, my dear friends, please close the eyes and imagine that you come home and you go to your room and there is nothing there. Not your computer, not your bags, not your clothes. You ask your mother, there's not your mother. Everything is gone. So I put them somehow in a situation where everything what they are used to have is gone. And some teacher made a picture from this moment where the children sit and have their eyes closed. And when I came home and I showed them my husband, so I said, oh, the children were asleep when you spoke to them. But you know, at this moment, when I said them, wake up and try to imagine that this is happening to you. So I brought them somehow to the, but you can bring, it's not hard to speak, you must only know how, because somehow to take out from them the interest and not to tell them the story, it was like this, to bring them, like you take a story, something interesting, like a boy told me, oh, you told me it was really Hitchcock. No? American Reaction. It was a Hitchcock. To go to Auschwitz, it was like a Hitchcock. Do you know who's Hitchcock? No, you are too young to know who's Hitchcock.
Eva, I believe that our time is unfortunately up. Although it is such a pleasure to be talking to, and I believe that there would be a lot of follow-up discussions on this one, and that we might in the future come back to it. I just would like, before we end, also on behalf of our community at Chajim, the Progressive Jewish community of Prague, to say how happy and glad and grateful we are that we have you as one of us, even
and how happy
such a discount.
I am to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, and love you all, and send my love to Prague and to you all there, wherever you are. And yes, I don't know, I really feel very, 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 very honored that I can speak to you.
Thank you, Eva. And I hope that it won't have to be just via Zoom, that you will indeed find some time in the future, and when the traveling is again possible, that you will be able to visit us in person, to spend some days with us, to go to a trip, but also visit our synagogue and our members and your friends here.
Yes, if I could do something about the time, about the age, you know, every good things end. Even life ends sometimes, and also with this, you must take it and accept it with dignity as much as possible.
We will be patient, and we hope to see you very soon. I also want to very much thank Sonja for your support of this event, and for giving your auspices, for inviting people from the whole world to join us here in Prague in this virtual way. But maybe if you are from abroad, that was also the reason why we decided to do this in English, because a lot of people from my community were asking, why do we do it in English when Eva speaks such wonderful Czech even after so many years in Israel? Eva indeed speaks many languages, not just English, Czech, German, Hungarian, so many languages. And we really wanted to do this in English because we wanted to invite all of you English-speaking members of our community, but also all friends from all around the world. So we will be very, very happy to welcome and see you here in Prague, and perhaps you will meet Eva also. And now I would like to ask Sonja for a few words in the end, and then we will say goodbye to you.
Really, I can only, I had no idea how impressed I would be by this very special relationship, Eva, that you have demonstrated to Czech Jewry, and the relationship to our congregation in Eitz Chaim. The global family around the world is very, very committed to supporting the development of those congregations, and to see how relevant they are, not just for the members who are there today, but really in the broad historical context. It has never been brought to light so beautifully and so emotionally as tonight, and I will cherish that, and I know that many of my colleagues will too, because really that's what it is about, and that's what makes it worthwhile. Thank you so much for sharing this evening with us. It was, as we expected, an incredibly inspirational experience, and like David, I hope to see you again soon. I hope to be able to meet with you, and I know I express, and I see it in the comments, the wishes of so many of us, and for tonight, to everyone who's joined us, thank you very much. David, thank you for everything you do, and thank you for tonight, and thank you for the idea to host this event and to make it a reality. And everybody, please have a good calendar year and stay healthy and stay safe.
I thank you very, very much for your words, and I will love to have you here in Israel, in my house, anytime, whenever it goes. The house is big, and unfortunately I am alone, so there is a lot place. And thank you so much. It was an honor to be with you.
Thank you very much, dear friends, Eva and Sonja, and also all those of you who are watching us. Be healthy, be safe, and see you in Prague. Thank you. Have a good evening.
See you in Israel.